Hello and welcome to the Department of Deportation podcast, the DEPODcast, where you can get all your latest news on immigration, the border, and deportations. Don't forget to visit departmentofdeportation.com for all your latest news and merch. In this episode, we're going to be watching the presidents of both the United States and El Salvador say that they are not sending that Maryland man back to the United States. We'll also watch as the round table dunks on Kaitlan Collins of CNN and her ridiculous questions. Let's see how it starts off.
Do you plan to ask President Bukele to help return the man who your administration says was mistakenly deported? The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador?
Well, let me ask Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country. He had been illegally in our country. And in 2019, two courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was a member of MS-13 and he was illegally in our country. Right now, it was additional paperwork had needed to be done. That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us. The Supreme Court ruled, President, that if, as El Salvador wants to return him, this is international matters, foreign affairs, if they wanted to return him, we would facilitate it, meaning provide a plane.
And then up next in the batter's box is Stephen Miller, who's also going to take his turn at bashing Kaitlan Collins' ridiculous question.
District Court judge tried to tell the administration that they had to kidnap a citizen of El Salvador and fly him back here. That issue was raised to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the district court order was unlawful and its main components were reversed 9-0 unanimously, stating clearly that neither Secretary of State nor the President could be compelled by anybody to forcibly retrieve a citizen of El Salvador from El Salvador, who again is a member of MS-13, which, as I'm sure you understand, rapes little girls, murders women, murders children, is engaged in the most barbaric activities in the world, and I can promise you, if he was your neighbor, you would move right away.
So you don't...
Was it 9-0?
Yes, it was a 9-0
in our favor.
In our favor, against the district court ruling, saying that no district court has the power to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. As Pam said, the ruling solely stated that if this individual, at El Salvador's sole discretion, was sent back to our country, that we could deport him a second time. No version of this legally ends up with him ever living here because he is a citizen of El Salvador. That is the president of El Salvador. Your questions about it, per the court, can only be directed to him.
Stephen Miller hands it off to Marco Rubio, who then lays down some heavy fire, and we see Stephen Miller get to advance and score and dunk on her once again.
I mean, Stephen outlined it. I don't understand what the confusion is. This individual is a citizen of El Salvador. He was illegally in the United States and was returned to his country. That's where you deport people, back to their country of origin. Except for Venezuela, that wasn't refusing to take people back, or places like that. I can tell you this, Mr. President. No, the foreign policy of the United States is conducted by the President of the United States, not by a court. And no court in the United States has a right to conduct the foreign policy of the United States. It's that simple. End of story.
And that's what the Supreme Court held, by the way. That's Marco's point. The Supreme Court said exactly what Marco said, that no court has the authority to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. We won a case 9-0, and people like CNN are portraying it as a loss, as usual, because they want foreign terrorists in the country who kidnap women and children. But President Trump, his policy is foreign terrorists that are here illegally get expelled from the country, which, by the way, is a 90-10 issue.
Then, of course, she demands that she get bashed by, of course, the president of El Salvador, Bukele, who's more than happy to oblige.
I asked President
Bukele?
Can President Bukele weigh in on this? Do you plan to return him?
Well, I'm supposed to be suggesting that I smuggle terrorists into the United States, right? How can I return him to the United States? Like, I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
But you can release him inside El Salvador.
Yeah, but I'm not releasing. We're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. We just turned the murder capital of the world into the safest country of the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into the releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world? No, that's not going to happen.
They'd love to have a criminal, released into our
there's a fascination.
They would love it.
Yeah.
They're sick. These are sick people.
What an amazing answer. Do you want me to smuggle terrorists back into the United States? Absolutely perfect. Now, let's watch as one last time Kaitlan desperately attempts to stay relevant and just gets absolutely dunked on by Trump to end the session with her.
Well, Mr. President, you said that if the Supreme Court said someone needed to be returned, that you would abide by that. You said that on Air Force One just a few days ago. And they said that it must be facilitated.
Why don't you just say, isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Why can't you just say that? Why do you go over and over? And that's why nobody watches you anymore. You know, you have no credibility. Please, go ahead.
Well, there you have it from both presidents of the countries involved. That guy is not coming back, so Abrego Garcia is going to stay in El Salvador. And it was exciting watching everybody in a round-robin style dunk on Kaitlan Collins, who then got shut down and eventually they just moved on from her ridiculous questions. Well, that does it for this episode. Don't forget to like and share the video. You can find us on YouTube, Rumble, X, and Instagram. And don't forget to visit DEPODcast.com if you like any of the shirts that you see in the background. It helps support our channel and it's some cool merch.